Everyone knows that famous people are as prone to tragedy as the rest of us, but nothing shocks the world like a celeb who died in a way that nobody saw coming. Heather O'Rourke rose to prominence after appearing in the Poltergeist franchise in the 1980s.
They're here.
By all rights, she should have had a bright and promising career in front of her. Less than a year after filming wrapped on the third Poltergeist movie, however, O'Rourke died unexpectedly. She had initially complained of stomach pain and was subsequently transported to San Diego Hospital. Though doctors fought to save her, she died during surgery. The cause of death was noted as intestinal stenosis, a type of severe bowel obstruction. Unbeknownst to O'Rourke or her parents, she had been born with the condition and only fell ill when it triggered an infection. She then went into septic shock and died as a result. In an interview on the podcast Fan Counters, Heather's sister Tammy spoke about the last time she saw her younger sister the day prior to her death.
Heather never complained about anything, how she felt bad or nothing. So when she wasn't feeling good and she complained, you knew there was something wrong.
Kirsty MacColl may not have been the most famous star to come out of the 80s, but you've likely had her voice stuck in your head throughout every holiday season. MacColl had a huge hit with Shane McGowan of The Pogues in Fairy Tale of New York, which has since become one of the most enduring and beloved Christmas hits of all time. And MacColl wasn't just a one-trick pony either. In fact, she had an impressive catalog of records under her belt, yet we never got to see how her career might have panned out, as in the year 2000, her life was cut short in a bizarre and tragic manner. MacColl was on a family vacation with her 2 sons and her boyfriend at the time, taking some well-deserved time off in Cozumel, Mexico. MacColl was swimming in a no-boat zone with her sons when a powerboat entered the area at speed. Though she managed to save her son by pushing him out of harm's way, MacColl wasn't quick enough to escape the boat's path herself. She was struck by the propeller and killed instantly. MacColl's manager, Kevin Nixon, said at the time, "We are absolutely distraught. I was personally immensely proud to be her manager after being a fan for so many years before that." The boat's driver was charged and convicted of culpable homicide, but much to the dismay of the MacColl family, he didn't serve any time behind bars. Instead, he was ordered to pay a very minimal fine. Relatives of the late singer have since claimed that the driver's conviction amounted to a cover-up to protect the boat's owner, the multi-millionaire businessman Guillermo Gonzalez Nova.
It was a lovely place, but you didn't have to die. So needless.
John Ritter was arguably one of the most iconic American stars in the 1980s, thanks largely to his performance on the beloved sitcom Three's Company. Ritter continued to work steadily after the 80s ended, one of his biggest TV projects. 8 Simple Rules debuted in 2002, pairing him on screen with future Big Bang Theory star Kaylee Cuoco and fellow sitcom legend Katie Sagal. The show had a promising future, and filming for the second season was underway when tragedy struck. While on set, Ritter was taken ill with a suspected heart attack. Though he was taken to the hospital and treated, the problem turned out to be an aortic dissection, a tear in the largest artery of the body. Ritter died as a result just a few hours after first falling ill. His wife, Amy Yazbek, later claimed that her husband could have been saved if it weren't for the actions of 2 of his doctors. She sued them for negligence 5 years later. Speaking to Today, Yazbek said, "John didn't have a chance. He was never given that chance." Years later, Kaylee Cuoco spoke about the immediate aftermath of Ritter's death in the documentary Superstar John Ritter. As Cuoco recalls, when shocked members of the cast and crew began to tell stories about Ritter, a mailman at Warner Brothers decided to speak up. He goes, "I used to deliver the mail here. John would always say hi to me, and I was like, of course he did." Ozzy Osbourne's death in 2025 was tragic for his fans, no doubt, but those same fans had seen their fair share of tragedy in the past. Take, for example, the death of Osbourne's guitarist, Randy Rhoads.
If it wasn't for Randy Rhoads, I know I wouldn't be here.
In 1982, the 25-year-old Rhoads was on tour with Osbourne when the air conditioning on their bus broke, forcing them to make a stop at an airfield in Florida. The band's driver, Andrew Aycock, happened to be a pilot, and he decided to take up a small plane with Rhoads and makeup artist Rachel Youngblood on board as passengers. What likely began as a harmless jaunt soon turned into a disaster, however, one that would leave a lasting impact on the rest of the band. During the flight, Aycock decided to try his luck and fly within close proximity of the tour bus, but this mischievous act proved fatal when the plane's wing hit the bus, causing the aircraft to spiral out of control and crash. All 3 occupants were killed.
After the 4th pass, he tipped the bus on the opposite side and it nosedived into the home.
Years later, in 2015, Osbourne told GQ, "It was awful. It was like a bad horror movie. The house was on fire, the bus had been hit by the plane, there was glass and gasoline everywhere. The house was engulfed, and he was such a nice guy, a very gentle man, a very tiny man, but so powerful with his instrument." News of Bob Saget's death came like a bolt out of the blue in 2022. Still very much active at the time, Saget was halfway through touring his latest show when he was found dead in his hotel bed at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando. With nothing to suggest foul play, all eyes were on his autopsy results. Dr. Roshini Raj, an associate professor of medicine at NYU Langone Health, told People magazine, "This report shows that the skull and brain suffered trauma, which led to skull fractures, bruising of the brain, and actual bleeding in the space around the brain. This blood can compress the brain and cause death. The coroner determined that this trauma was most likely caused by an accidental fall backward. While the cause of death was apparent, how Saget actually sustained this injury remains a mystery. After sweeping the scene, police found no evidence on any surface in the room to suggest where Saget might have fallen. One theory suggests that he fell backward onto the marble floor in the bathroom and simply took himself to bed, not realizing how severe the blow had been. Sadly, the exact truth may never be known." Few celebrity deaths have rocked the world of entertainment quite like Michael Jackson's. Jackson had been set for a huge history-making comeback in 2009, and the world awaited his This Is It tour with bated breath. But the return of the King of Pop would never come to pass as news of his death broke on June 25, 2009.
Both the Los Angeles Times and CBS News are both now reporting that Michael Jackson has died.
Initial reports cited Jackson's cause of death as a heart attack, but it soon became clear that something else was at play. Eventually, it emerged that Jackson, who'd been working himself into the ground to prepare for his tour, had come to rely on his doctor, Dr. Conrad Murray, for help with his insomnia. To treat Jackson, Murray regularly administered him with propofol, a powerful anesthetic, and an autopsy revealed that Jackson's death occurred due to an overdose of this drug. On top of the propofol, Jackson had quite the cocktail of drugs in his system at the time of his death, including diazepam and lorazepam. Ultimately, these findings led to a ruling of homicide, and Murray was convicted of involuntary manslaughter just over 2 years later. After serving less than half of his 4-year sentence, Murray went on to open his own medical institute in Trinidad and Tobago. Perhaps the most tragic detail about the death of Whitney Houston is the fact that it could have been so easily prevented. To this day, Houston is considered one of the most iconic pop stars of all time. Her incredible voice made hits like I Will Always Love You and I Wanna Dance with Somebody, but with great fame comes a great deal of pressure. According to a family friend who spoke to People magazine in 2016, Houston lived something of a double life, and it wasn't all glamour and cheering crowds. They said, "I think not being able to be herself 100% was a hell of a burden for her to have to carry. Someone may look good on the outside, sturdy and strong, but on the inside you have someone who had insecurities and family issues and emotional personal issues and struggles." Houston, who had stints in rehab and often spoke openly about her issues with drug use, was found dead in a bathtub the night before the 2012 Grammy Awards. An autopsy determined the cause of death to be accidental drowning, noting that she had several different drugs in her system at the time, including marijuana, Xanax, and muscle relaxants. That said, none of the doses had been lethal. Los Angeles County Coroner Craig Harvey told People magazine, "There was water found in her lungs that indicated to us that she was alive when she was submerged underwater. According to our tests, the level of cocaine was not necessarily a lethal level of cocaine, but her death was complicated by chronic cocaine use and heart disease." If you grew up in the 80s, there's a solid chance you said these words at least once a week.
What you talking about, Willis?
For many years, different stroke star Gary Coleman remained a recognizable figure thanks to the time he spent on our TV screens, but he didn't get the shot he deserved at a long and happy life. Fans were stunned when Coleman died at the age of 42 in May 2010. He hadn't been sick and no one expected this tragic outcome. So what happened? Coleman was at home in Utah with his ex-wife Shannon Price when he hit his head and fell. Although Price called 911 and urged them to come as quickly as possible, Coleman actually got back on his own 2 feet, and he was fully conscious when he left with the paramedics. But his condition quickly took a turn for the worse, and it later turned out he had suffered a brain hemorrhage. Coleman subsequently fell into a coma, and he was taken off life support 2 days after the accident had occurred. The death of Robin Williams left the world wondering how someone so committed to making other people laugh could feel so hopeless. In the years since, his family has opened up about this, revealing that he had struggled with several symptoms, including anxiety, paranoia, and memory loss.
He took great lengths to support his well-being and mental health, especially when he was challenged.
Yet while these symptoms no doubt contributed to Williams' death by suicide, it was only later that the true scope of his illness emerged. This is because, while he had always suffered the symptoms of his condition, he never received an accurate diagnosis for it. It was only during his autopsy that doctors discovered that Williams had Lewy body dementia, a disease that causes clumps of protein to clog brain cells. Williams' wife Susan later told the Lewy Body Dementia Association, "Robin is and will always be a larger-than-life spirit who is inside the body of a normal man with a human brain. He just happened to be that 1 in 6 who is affected by brain disease." Multiple A-list stars paid tribute to Williams in the days following his death, including then-President Barack Obama, who said, "He made us laugh, he made us cry, he gave his immeasurable talent freely and generously to those who needed it most." If you or anyone you know needs help with addiction issues, help is available. Visit the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration website or contact SAMHSA's National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP-4357.